7 o'clock.
Good evening, being 7 p.m. Tonight is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. I'm going to open up the Halifax Conservation Commission meeting. We're meeting in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. I want to make a couple of announcements. First announcement is this meeting is being recorded by Area 58 and can be viewed on YouTube. And we currently have some members that are participating. Excuse me, we have an engineer that's going to be participating via Zoom. First order of business, I'm taking some stuff out of order, is going to be 22 Beechwood Road. Oh, I'm sorry. First order of business is going to be 109 Palmer Mill Road, Lot 11. We have a memorandum of agreement on an enforcement order. Has everybody had the opportunity to review that?
Yes.
Okay. Just for the public's knowledge. We had a wetlands violation on Lot 11 Palmer Mill Road, now known as 109 Palmer Mill Road. An enforcement order was placed in the chain of title, and we finally come up with an agreement as far as the restoration plan is concerned. So, we have a memorandum of agreement which outlines that the applicant is going to be paying for some of the fees. So I'll be looking for a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement.
Make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's 4-0. Okay, as part of that enforcement order and release, the memorandum of agreement, we have a document here that we are going to release the enforcement order that was placed at the Registry of Deeds. Everybody get the opportunity to review this? Okay. Basically, it's just a release that needs to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So I'd be looking for a motion to approve this enforcement order release.
Motion to accept the enforcement order.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. This has to be notarized. So much we have a notary here with us now. I'll let you finish that before we continue.
Okay.
Thank you, Patty.
You're welcome.
Okay, next order of business, you're gonna be real quick. 22 Beechwood Road, restoration plan.
Hi,
I'm gonna need you to come up to the mic, identify yourself.
hi, good evening. Matt Dyer, I'm a contractor on behalf of Halifax Estates. First, I just want to say thank you very much for having me tonight. I had a couple of questions for the commission. I reviewed the materials last week, and I had a couple of questions for the commission. on a couple of alterations I'm hoping for. The first one was the locations of the trees. Reviewing the site plan, I wasn't sure if that was produced by the commission or was that produced by Halifax Estates?
Halifax Estates.
Okay.
Our agreement is plant them wherever you think is appropriate.
Okay, excellent. So my next question would be, for the species of trees, is it a, were the species specific to the commission or if it, to Halifax Estates?
I'm going to say no. I think the decision that we made, if my memory is correct, that they were going to, you guys are going to determine which you planted for species, provide us with just a planting schedule
Okay.
and types of trees. There was some question on bushes or trees. They're going to be trees. We needed caliper size. Correct?
Yes, and you had brought up, the commission previously voted for a 2-inch caliper, but Matt had some suggestions. You said 1 to 1.5 inches might work better.
Correct. Yep. So just to provide the commission with a little bit of background, my background is in urban forestry. My team and I have planted over 3,000 trees in the city of Brockton. I'm actually a current member of the MAACC, the Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissioners. Initially I heard it was the DBH was going to be at 2 inches. My recommendation would be to bring that down to maybe 1 1/4, just because with a 2-inch tree, it takes a longer time for them to get established and have a higher rate of failure. So my recommendation was to bring that down to 1 1/4, but maybe increase the amount of trees so it provides the same amount of environmental services that the commission feels is adequate to you guys.
I personally don't have a problem with that. I would suggest that it just provide us with a sketch. Provide us with a sketch. I think we gave the agent the authority to sign off on the sketch
Perfect.
and just get them planted. You know, I'm a little concerned about the growing season, so we'd like to get them in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, other than that, you can work. Anybody, any questions, any concerns? Okay, so if it's 1 1/4, 1.5 up to 2, we were just debating, trying to figure out what was the appropriate caliper, because there was some discussion on bushes, so we're fine with that.
Perfect. Great. Thanks so
Okay.
much, guys. I really
Okay.
appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay. Next order of business is we have a scheduled, a continued public hearing for 285 Holmes Street. Could I have that read into the record, please?
Town of Halifax Conservation Commission notice is hereby given that a public hearing conducted by the Halifax Conservation Commission pursuant to Chapter 146 of the Town of Halifax bylaws, Halifax Stormwater Management Bylaw, will take place on May 13th, 2025, continued to today, May 27th, at 7 p.m. at the Halifax Town Hall, to consider an application for a stormwater management permit filed by Prince Global Tide LLP of Boston, Mass. On behalf of Liddell Development LLC of Killington, Vermont, pursuant to an order in Liddell Development LLC versus Halifax Conservation Commission, docket number 2583CV00009, Plymouth Superior Court, remanding that the matter for the hearing before the Conservation Commission. The applicant is seeking to change the use of industrial zoned property to light manufacturing and storage to include a minor stormwater management permit at the property located at 285 Holmes Street, shown in Assessors Map 22, Lot 07. Copies of the filing are available at the Conservation Commission's office at the Halifax Town Hall per request via email Peggy Selter at halifax-maps.ma.org or by calling 781-590-3872 or 781-293-6768. Halifax Conservation Commission, Alan Diaz, Kathy Evans, Edward Lane, Paul Doucette, John Quixote.
Okay, thank you. I'd be looking for a motion to open up the hearing for 285 Holmes Street.
I'll put motion that we open up the hearing for 285 Holmes Street.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 4-0. Okay. I just want to take a minute. We read the notice into the record. I'm going to be looking for a presentation from, I believe, Liddell's counsel, and then we have the engineer on Zoom. What we are going to be discussing, if you don't mind, is going to be plan, going to be CE1-01, excuse me, CG1-01. Can you put that up on the screen?
Yes. Let me share my screen so the engineer can see us. And let's see. Plan set.
CG01.
CG1,
CG101.
CG101,
I think that's 5 or something.
CG101.
Keep going. Keep going.
And CS1. CG101, got it.
That's not the updated plan. Oh, yes, that is. Okay. Just for the audience, the Dow Corporation has taken the commission to court regarding the plan that we did not approve. The engineers or Liddell has provided us with the necessary catch basins or manholes that we requested. And we have a plan in front of us which they are proposing and looking for us to approve. At this point, you want to make a presentation?
Just very briefly, thank
I
you.
just want to identify yourself for the
Yes,
record.
thank you. My name is Julie Barry. I'm an attorney at Prince Labelle Time, one of the attorneys representing Liddell Corporation. You're used to Ann Sobluski, who's a much better and nicer person than I am. I'm sorry she can't be here, but she's traveling. This plan was, the changes and edits were made. I brought a full-size copy. The last hearing we were here on May 13th, so you should have full-size copy. You also have electronic copies. You should also have in your files a letter from PGB Engineering, Mr. Brennan, dated May 23rd, 2025, which is the reviewing engineer's review of the changes made to the plan, and his ultimate recommendation that we believe the above changes address the concerns raised by the commission, and we are satisfied that the proposed project will be in compliance with the Halifax Stormwater Management Bylaw, Chapter 146, and regulations. And I, after our last meeting, asked Mr. Pavlik if he could attend. He's here today by remote. So if you have any questions specifically about the engineering and the plans and the changes that were made, I would ask that you let Mr. Pavlik answer those questions.
We will turn this over to Mr. Pavlik, and I want him to address the changes that were made from the August. We have 3 different plans. This latest plan date is
Which should be March 27, 2025.
March
yeah.
27th.
Yep.
So, Mr. Pavlik, do you mind addressing the changes that you provided on this plan versus the last plan?
Yes, good evening. I have received an email through the applicant's counsel from town council requesting several changes, and that was back in March. And so we made those changes. It was to add a note on this grading sheet that the site is in the Silver Lake watershed as well as the Monpont Pond watershed. So that's on note 1. We clarified the roof drain note and the detail. It was a lot of simple clarifications like that, but essentially that was one of them. We replaced CB number 4, which is at the back of the building, with a drain manhole. So it's a solid structure now. And on the test pit log notes in the upper right corner, we clarified that I was on site for the test pits and they were logged by Kevin Timothy. So I am a DEP soil evaluator. And Kevin is an engineer also, which is under the DEP stormwater management regulations. There's no specific requirement to be a DEP soil evaluator, but in any event, I am. And then we also received a marked up plan of this that I believe was provided by Mr. Brennan to add some flow arrow notes to indicate where the runoff is going on site around the building. So you'll see those ridge lines and flow arrows depicting where the runoff will be flowing to. So essentially, it's all contained on site now, all the runoff.
Can you hold on one second, Jim?
Sure.
Can you show where these arrows are for the audience? You got a pointer there? What, does he have control? I don't.
No, I have control.
Okay. Okay, so.
I'm just trying to zoom in here.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, we've got a bigger screen, so can you outline for us in the audience how you propose the stormwater to run?
I am looking for the control feature. I'm more familiar with Teams, so where is it?
There's some way for me to have
All
control.
right, bear with me. I'll figure this out more. Actions record notes.
I think I got it, Jim.
You got it?
Yep.
That's not my mouse, is it?
It says waiting for Jim Pavlik to control your screen. Did you get maybe a pop-up that says
Oh,
maybe you have to
okay,
accept?
yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Clicked it.
Something just happened.
Yeah, it looks like it was loading.
You can see my mouse moving on my screen, but I don't see it on the screen I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's not moving around. It still says waiting. Done.
You see there's a large delay, is what it looks like, but well, I can kind of describe it where I'm pointing. Can you see an arrow near the ridge line, near the north property line, near the T-tracks?
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's a ridge line from that building corner. So the back of the site to the south would be draining towards catch basin 5 and 6 at the southeast corner of the building. See those two catch basins there?
Yeah.
So from this ridge line, it flows to those two catch basins. And then there's a portion of the site to the south of the building that is flowing towards 4 bay number 2. There's a big lag in the arrow movement. Can you see that?
Yes.
I see.
Okay. And then again, that's a ridge line there through the middle of the building, more or less. And the area to the west of that is flowing towards 4 bay number 1, which is closer to the street. And then going back to the ridge line at the northeast corner, the northerly portion of the site to the north of the building is flowing to infiltration basin number 2. There's several flow arrows depicting that. And then the front of the building is flowing towards this new catch basin CB1 near Home Street. So the entire front of the property would be draining to that catch basin. So that's essentially how it's, that's what current conditions are doing, and that's what we're, maintaining those flow directions.
Okay, was there anything else at this point?
Regarding other changes, or?
Those were the changes that were made. You addressed the notes, and you addressed the outstanding resource areas.
Yep. Yeah, we added the detail and soil logs. So yes, that's essentially it.
Okay. Let me just pull.
So there were no changes required to the stormwater counts that you've reviewed and seen previously. This is just clarification of how the water is getting to each of the drainage features.
That's correct. Okay, let me just pull my board first. And you can reserve, if anybody's got any questions at this point, if you want to reserve any questions until...
Nothing
Okay.
at this moment.
I just have one, and then I'm going to turn it over to the audience. These ridge lines, are those proposed ridge lines?
That's more or less what's existing conditions, and again, it's going to remain like that.
So you're saying that these ridge lines are on the ground now?
More or less, yes.
All right. I'm just going to reserve my comments on the ridge line. I'm going to kind of open up to the audience because, there was flooding on the site this week. It went through all your erosion controls and out into Route 36. But I'm going to ask anybody that's in the audience that has any issues that I want to address to the plan. At this point, and I'll reserve my comments till after this. So, anybody want to speak? Okay, if you don't mind. Just identify yourself, please.
Yeah, Rick Mary, 301 Home Street. When you come with the ridge lines and existing elevations, I've never seen a plan. I've been doing this for 50 years, and I've never seen a plan without existing and proposed contours. Even as something as small as a septic system repair, you always have your proposed and existing contours. Now, I've never seen anybody just draw arrows pointing where this is where the water's gonna go. It was pretty hard. If I was a contractor looking at this job, I'm like, well, how am I gonna figure this? I don't see, what I have to do to make these grades work. There's other issues besides this. I don't know. I don't see any floor drains for this building. Why is that? Any time I've been involved with industrial commercial zone buildings where they're storing vehicles, which they have been since day one, you always have to have floor drains. And I don't see them on this plan. I saw another note about lighting. Every plan I've seen always had to have a lighting diag showing the lighting from the building can't pass the lot line. I've seen that in every plan I've ever reviewed. This has nothing. All it has is a notice they're going to disconnect the light, and then have a light for a back door or something. But there's no explanation where that's going to shine. This piece of property from day one is just nothing but lies and just a lot of crap. And you just can't, where they've gone about this whole situation, and I can't believe anything they're going to do. My feeling is once they get in there, they're going to go back and do whatever they want again anyway. They're not saying what they're going to do with the back property. I have to sit there and look at it on my front door all the time. They pretty much wiped out a lot of their parking and yard down here, so obviously they're going to have to use that back. I could go on and on. This has been a thorn on my side for years.
Okay, Mr. Pavlik, some of his comments are out of our jurisdiction.
Yes, thank
Uh,
you.
Well, I knew that.
Yeah, just, okay, let's keep the comments down.
I
There
just,
are-
did,
Ma'am,
because he just
hold-
said we're
hold on.
lying.
Look at,
He just said we're lying.
hold on. He didn't say you were lying.
Okay.
If you want to speak, just raise your hand and I'll let you speak.
Okay.
But I don't want any outbursts.
I want the
Look at-
opportunity to respond to
Ma'am.
everybody, okay?
Then you just write it down and you can make
Yeah.
all your responses you want. But
Yeah.
while we have people here talking, I don't want them to be interrupted.
Got it.
Thank you. Jim, a lot of the stuff is, if you don't mind me calling you Jim, is out of our jurisdiction. One important thing, and I'm going to agree with him, being in the business, I have never seen the arrows. Are we sure that that water is going to flow in that direction? Are you going to be the on-site engineer?
We haven't advanced the work that far, but, you know, we have notes on here to clarify that the contractor is to grade the gravel parking area to these locations as shown. So that is the intent to get the runoff to flow to the drainage structures that we're showing.
And is that going to be your responsibility as the review engineer, excuse me, as the engineering firm? We just need to make sure,
We're not under contract to do that necessarily for construction, but if you need to have a condition of approval that says, you know, an engineer is gonna need to certify the grading, that seems to me that would be appropriate, or require an as-built of the site to demonstrate that it flows to these locations. Contractually, I'm not committed to do that at this point.
okay, all right, thank you.
You want me to-
Yeah, you have a response?
Just another response to that, it's like. how do you
Just
find-
identify yourself
Rick
again.
Murray against 31 Home Street. How do you have, do an as-built on a piece of property when you have no proposed elevation, no proposed contours? So you can't do an as-built on a piece of property using existing contours on the lot without any proposed. So how do you do the as-built without being able to say, okay, these were the proposed contours and this is how it ended up, just the way the plan shows?
Well,
Just, you know,
we
just-
actually do provide a number of grades. The basins are graded with proposed contours. And again, these areas around the building are relatively flat. These are 1 foot contours, so we show a number of spot elevations around the site. And we have the structure rim grades to show that they're at low points on the site. So there are a number of grades. And the flow arrows provide more direction for the contractor to ensure that that happens.
Okay, so based on your experience, providing an as-built prior, or an as-built and a certification of the grade prior to any occupancy is not unreasonable.
I have seen that in the past on other projects.
Okay, all right, thank you. Do we have any other members of the, yes? Just to identify yourself.
Jake
please.
Oakville, 301 Home Street. So I understand that in the notes, they address the Mont Ponce watershed. So according to Mass GIS Bureau of Graphical Information, this property does fall in within the tributaries to Silver Lake, well within the tributaries to Silver Lake. A tributary is a river or stream that flows to a larger body. I have documentation from Mass GIS that shows that it's well within that. So I'm just wondering where the notes say that it's not within 200 feet of the town's conservation or conservancy, floodplain, or water supply protection zones. How is that not inaccurate?
Okay, hold on, let me get you an answer. Did you understand that on your notes?
Could you scroll down to the upper left corner, please? Or can I do that?
I think I still have control. Notes right here?
Yes.
All right.
So, note 1 says the site is within the Mont Ponce Pond watershed and the Silver Lake watershed. and is not within the 200 feet of the town's conservancy floodplain and water supply protection zone. So that's that was noted from the town's stormwater regulations to have that note depicted as such. So we're not actually, we're talking about two different things. The state designated watersheds to the two ponds, and then the town has a separate conservancy, floodplain, and water supply protection zone. So from the town's mapping, this site is not within that conservancy, floodplain, water supply protection zone, and we're acknowledging that the site is within Monpont Pond watershed and the Silver Lake watershed. It's not contradictory at all. That's what the mapping shows.
Okay. I can't really see the grades from here. Are you at 60 MLS or lower in any of those areas? Because 60 MLS is our conservancy zone. But I can't read that from here. Is there anything down below the notes? Does that say 62?
This is 62 right here.
Okay. So,
The road, Home Street is at elevation 72, roughly, in front of the site.
but I think his point is that Halifax's 60 MSL is conservancy zone. Is any of this site located within 300, 400, 500 feet of the 60 MLS zone or contour?
Where does that,
Ma'am?
border?
Point, no. So my question is there any place within a few hundred feet that's below the 60 MLS?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Just so you're aware, 60 MLS is the town conservancy zone, so I think that's got to be the reference. I've got a couple of documents here, but I'm not really sure.
So the
Where these, oh, these came
first
from,
documents from Mass GIS, and the second documents from Mass Mapper that shows that it's within zones A, B, and C of the stormwater, or the surface water supply watershed.
Jim, what I have in front of me, and I believe in the,
Mr. Chairman, just for record, that's straight off the state's website.
okay, if you guys want to look at this. I believe in the, your stormwater report, you did have some of those, the Mass Mapper information, and the, what is it, GIS? Some of this information was contained in there, and I think I requested that that be updated because it needed to be changed. Is that, we don't have the most current one. What I have in front of me is the Mass Mapper. In your manual that you submitted, your stormwater report, you had copies of this material, or you had the Mass Mapper information, or the Mass GIS.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you comfortable that that this site is not in a zone A, B, or C? It wouldn't be in an A. Shouldn't be in a B. Let me just see.
So from a stormwater perspective, the zone A is what DEP looks at when we're designing stormwater management systems. The site is not within zone A. Zone A extends 200 feet from tributaries to the two public water supplies, and 400 feet around the border of those two water bodies. So the site is not anywhere near the 200-foot zone from that stream that's across the street.
There's
Well, outside that area.
a stream across
The
the street.
zone B and C are other designations, but they don't have any regulatory weight when it comes to stormwater design.
Can you just, I know you don't have this, but you do have access to the stormwater report. I don't see a stream on this, Mr. Overholt, maybe you can enlighten me. I know the garden company's back there is,
So this is the line right here
okay.
for the stream. And also, Mr. Chairman?
Just hold on a second, I just want to clarify for this, for the commission members. This yellow area here is a stream. The site locus is here. So the closest point to the stream, I can only guess that this is probably 100 scales, so I'm gonna kind of guess that it's beyond the distance for the stream. If you wanna look at that, that's the stream.
Is the-
But that information would be contained in the stormwater report. Your manual, is that correct?
Yes, figure 2.
That's in figure 2. We don't have that, we didn't get that digitally, or did we? No. Okay. All right, so we got a question there. Good, I'm sorry, go ahead, continue.
So as far as that, the map so everything that's in the light yellow is actually within that tributary. But also going on Mass DEP outline map viewer, wetlands and change of areas on mass.gov's website. I took some measurements. It's well within 200 feet from the WS1 wetlands across the street from the wetlands to the property itself. And that's utilizing the Mass Mapper, the documentation that's provided on that website for measurements.
Basically, the green
Yeah,
line,
the
and I'll
line.
pass it down as the stream, and then this shows an indicated area that might have been either replicated or just torn up. So Jim, he's got, and I don't know the name of it, he's got a brook that's across the street that,
Pass these on to John.
if you're looking at this plan, it shows somewhere coming off a Garden Road and heading south. I'm a little familiar with the area. I don't know that there's a stream there. In your report, does it indicate there is something there?
That's an intermittent stream, I believe, that's is mapped by DEP, and it has a 200-foot zone, a protection zone around it, and that's, the site is closer to almost 400 feet from that stream.
And you have that documented?
Yes.
Okay. Then you can provide that, well, okay. You have to update that report. And it should be in that report.
We do have it noted in there.
Okay.
We can take another look at it, but if there needs to be any further clarifications.
Okay, Mr. Overfelt, I guess the position is, you've got on your notes that there is nothing. The stormwater handbook or the stormwater report is what has all that data in there, and we do not have a current one.
These recent changes to the plan, it doesn't affect the hydrology calculations, so that all remains the same. The reference to the Monpont or the Silver Lake watershed, we probably do not have that stated in the report, but we do reference the Monpont Pond watershed.
So what's the impact? The impact is strictly, you got a little bit of set of different rules when you come in the outstanding resource water areas. The rules are a little bit different, and that's why they got to be noted. Now the question comes up as to whether or not you have that stream located and it's beyond either the 200 feet. An intermittent stream is going to be 200, it's not going to be 400. But there's nothing on there that indicates that there is an intermittent stream.
It's far off site. It's not even near the site, so we wouldn't, there's no need to show it.
Okay. And
Chair,
you've confirmed that?
Could I make a comment?
Yeah.
I believe that perennial streams only apply to 200 feet. If it's labeled intermittent, it's 100 feet.
Okay, the only question is whether or not I understand the setbacks, because it's a little bit different. We don't have a stream, and we don't have a blue line or red line, however you want to call it. So if it was a blue line, they're going to consider it a stream with 200 feet. If it's an intermittent stream and they determine it's an intermittent stream, then obviously we classify it different. The situation is he's saying that it's within a few hundred feet, as long as he's going to certify that it's beyond the distance. If it's beyond the distance, he's not required to put it on. But it should be in that overall report. And I did look at the outstanding resource area. I did not see it there. So are you comfortable that that stream is beyond the distances required?
Yes, it's over 200 feet.
Do you know the designation of that particular stream?
Designation?
The designation. Are we perennial? Are we intermittent?
I believe it is an intermittent stream, and again, we might be mixing and matching different classifications here. So when it comes to the Wetlands Protection Act, there's 200-foot riverfront protection areas associated with perennial streams. In this case, we have an intermittent stream that's mapped by DEP as a tributary to a public water supply. So that has a 200-foot zone A around it. And again, that is still well off site, and it's not even close to the site.
Okay. To answer your question, if you don't mind, he's indicated, he's correct, if that stream, brook, or whatever it is, intermittent or perennial, is not within his jurisdiction, he does not have to note it on the plan. I can't tell from this information because we don't have a scale. The thing, knowing that area a little bit, I'm going to say it's probably going to be an intermittent stream because there's no inlet and outlet. So it's picking up whatever water that's coming into that garden area and sending it back to Mont Ponce. So go ahead, if you got another question, and then council has a question.
About 301 Street, Home Street. So just in regards to that, I bring my kids down to the train station on the weekends to ride their bikes. We go through the entrance. Right at the entrance, there's a culvert that the water just flows right through. So I don't know if that's considered the part of the stream or if that's water that comes off of that, but it's flowing water that comes underneath that road at the entrance to Garden Road.
Okay, and I'll just kind of answer that. Intermittent stream, if the flow stops at any point during the year, it becomes an intermittent stream. DEP unfortunately classifies the type of stream that we have to deal with. And he's required to put that on a plan. If it's a perennial stream and it's within this jurisdiction, whether it be the 200, 400 feet, he's required to put it on there. If it's not on there, then it's beyond the distances.
So my next question would be, what has DEP stated? Have they produced the DEP in regards to this?
Okay, let me just get an answer. That information would have been in the manual that's submitted. And I did not see.
Stormwater report, figure 2.
Well, you can easily say figure 2. Caitlin and I went back and forth because your first booklet had 6 figures and she was looking for figure 6 and wasn't in the book.
Well, the most updated stormwater was from September 25th, I believe. Let me pull it out of the audit.
So you haven't updated the manual as of yet.
That was a September 25
Yep.
revision. That's the report of record, and there was a change to the post-development calculations that we submitted on November 22nd. That was the only change to the stormwater report, was just that the post-development calculations were updated.
Okay,
based on
but
the changes we were discussing with the commission at that time.
you haven't updated it as far as the outstanding resource areas and included an illustration, because your illustrations are very similar to the Mass Mappers. I think that's where you get a lot of your data, Mass GIS. So they're similar to what he showed us.
Correct.
But that's not in your current book, because you haven't updated that.
The only thing would be the reference to the Silver Lake watershed. But per the town's regulations, the stormwater regulations, we were only required to make reference whether or not we were in or out of the Montponset Pond watershed. It just so happens the site is also in the Silver Lake watershed, but there's a distinction there that the town made in the stormwater bylaw. So,
Okay, so that should have been complied with, and for some reason or another, it wasn't.
That's not.
If it's in our bylaw. Going from book one to book two.
Montponset Pond watershed,
Okay,
yes.
all right, okay.
The
If you're
town
done,
bylaw just, makes reference to the Montponset Pond watershed.
our bylaw only references the Montponset watershed? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Specifically, but again, we're outside of this zone A associated with that tributary stream across the road, so it has no net effect on the drainage design or the calculations.
Okay. All right, I have council's got some questions. Is something related to this, or is
No,
this?
something else, I
Okay.
can ask after.
Council, you had some questions.
I don't have any questions,
Just gonna
but
put
I'm
my
just gonna
question.
read this letter, okay? Because this is
Good.
what's driving this. The stormwater report was supposed to be, there's can be a condition added to this decision that says the stormwater report should be upgraded to show that it has the Silver Lake watershed area. Because I understand that you have concerns that it could cause problems later if someone was looking at the report and didn't see where there were corrections made because we'd suggested something else. So we said we would be agreeable to a condition on that. And given the long weekend, we weren't able to get the stormwater report done in time for this. I would like to note for the record that there was a very lengthy email from Mr. Okerfelt that contained none of these documents that he's handed to the board. We haven't seen anything that he's provided with you. I feel comfortable with Mr. Pavlik's analysis. He's very well versed in the town's regulations. He knows the workings of this board. And according to the reviewing engineer, existing leaching catch basin CB4 is now proposed to be removed and replaced with a drain manhole. It was previously proposed to be converted into a manhole, but there were concerns that it would continue to serve as a leaching catch basin, which would not provide adequate stormwater treatment. Number two, proposed grading has been clarified on sheet CG 1.01 of the plan set with the following. A, ridge lines, parentheses, drainage divides, close parentheses, have been added to the plan. B, flow arrows have been added to the plan. C, quotes, contractor to verify and grade to drain to 4 bays and CBs, parentheses, TYP, parentheses, quotes, note has been added to ensure that the contractor grades the site as depicted by the flow areas. So that addresses your concern or someone's concern about requiring an engineer to sign off on the work after it's done. We're not that far yet. We don't even have the permit yet. Number 3, note 1 on sheet CG 1.01 has been revised to note the site is located within the Silver Lake watershed. Number 4, revised sheet CG 1.01 test pit soil logs, note 2 to read, quote, all test pits were observed by James Pavlik, parentheses, DEP Certified Soil Evaluator number 1874, and logged by Kevin Timothy from Fuss and O'Neill on July 23rd, 2024. Number 5, added ground surface elevations and groundwater notes to test pit logs on sheet 5. Number 6, added storm manhole detail on sheet CD 5.01. Number 7, added elevations and inlet pipe information on the roof drain detail on sheet CD 5.02. We believe that the above changes address the concerns raised by the Commission, and we are satisfied that the proposed project will be in compliance with the Halifax Stormwater Management Bylaw, Chapter 146 and regulations. The purpose of this hearing, which we were here 2 weeks ago on, was for this limited review. I've heard my client insulted as a liar or that there has been lying before this commission. There was no objection to that, and so I wanted objected to on the record that there's no call for any of that. The client has worked to provide all the changes that were requested. Those have been done. So we would ask that discussion be limited to what we're here for tonight, is those changes.
Okay.
I think Mr. Pavlik has answered all these questions.
Okay, we'll make that decision if he has answered all the questions, and I am not going to limit the debate. I mean, these people live in the area. Your objection is noted, we're not in a court of law.
You don't have to, I'm not saying we're in
Okay,
a court of law,
so-
sir, but you, and I'm not suggesting that you should circumvent any of this discussion. However, I do object to the ad hominem attacks on calling people lying.
Okay. Your objection is duly noted. Okay. Do we have any other comments? Oh, go ahead.
Bert Gaynor, 17 Pemmican Way. I just have a question as far as the board is concerned. This new plan, you know, with the ridge line showing and whatnot, that more or less comply or don't comply, is this a completely different drainage system that was approved before they changed the use to the property? And how many changes have there been made to what was previously proposed?
Okay. Let me get that answer for you. He's got a very good question. As far as the plan itself, a substantial change, that's a determination that the boards will make. Can you tell us how many changes since you went to the planning board on this particular plan?
The only significant change was to replace the existing leaching catch basin structures with solid catch basins with deep sumps and manholes. And we've added these clarifying notes about the grading and so on, but there's been nothing substantive in terms of the hydrology calculations where we're containing all the runoff on site.
Okay. I'm probably just going to disagree because I think one of our initial meetings, you had overflow from your basin going on to Home Street, which, which the highway department said no. So
that's what I said. We're now containing it on site.
okay, so I guess it's a determination of the planning board to determine whether or not it's a substantial change. I know we've had changes through the plan, so to answer his question, there have been some changes. It's their determination if they're substantial or not. The notes have been changed and added. I don't know how many changes from plan number 1 to plan number 3, because when you add the changes, you just base them on the review comments. But there have been a fair amount of changes between plan number 1 and plan number 3.
As you said, that's a subjective comment, Mr. Chairman, but yes, there have been some changes.
Okay. So yes, there has been changes.
With those changes that were applied and proposed on plan number 3, as you refer to it as, now that the change of use is going to require storage of what? And if there is storage, like it was previously pointed out, vehicles, for example, do require floor drains. And if adding adding different manholes and drainage issues to be accounted for. I'd like to know if the board itself considered them substantial changes. From Plan 1 to Plan 3.
Okay. I'm not going to poll the board on that, but we've got some general conditions, and we haven't discussed them as of yet, but
Multiple.
yeah, we've got a lot of conditions that we're considering, and based on the changes between Plan number 1 and Plan number 3, but I want to get some clarification from council. It's in my opinion, not the board, that the plan should go back to be reviewed. But let me just get something clarified.
Go back where to be reviewed, sir, sorry.
Planning board. So, so if you don't mind, you applied for, and this is strictly not our wheelhouse, but they applied for a change in use. Is the same use that you applied for originally? I know it was the same tenant. Is that what's going in there? Same thing?
I don't know.
Okay.
I presume.
We
There
don't-
hasn't been any change except the changes that were
Oh,
requested
no,
by
no,
this commission.
hold on, but why don't you get up, if you could, my question is this, is, you applied for a certain tenant? I'm assuming,
Yes.
okay,
And that same tenant, and
Okay.
everything is the same.
okay, thank you,
Okay.
thank you. So, Mr. Gainer, so, we are going to consider, as part of this process, some conditions, all right? It's my opinion, with the changes and the note difference, that it should go back. Now, if it goes back to the planning board, then it's up to the planning board to decide that are the changes significant enough to require a new hearing. That's beyond our control. So, I hope that answers the question.
Yes, yes, it does. It just was concerning, sitting there listening to more or less, and like was pointed out, the different drainage elevations and whatnot from proposed to existing, and those changes from Plan 1 to Plan 3, how much of a significant change is it, or is it how substantial it is to you?
And like Mr. Pavlik said, that's very subjective, but that's the decision the board makes.
Great.
I don't make.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Could we, before you get done, could we go to plan number CG1-01?
Did you say 1-0?
CG1, period, 01. It's the sedimentation and control plan. It's not.
Grading.
It's one of the first ones, I think.
Okay. Sedimentation. Erosion.
There it is,
sediment
right there.
control.
Can you blow it up to the erosion control?
Yep.
Jim, part of the planning board's decision was that you needed to conform to a sedimentation and erosion control and sedimentation plan. I didn't find in the record that there was plans submitted to the planning board, but maybe there was. Can you drop that down a little bit? I was on site Thursday night before all the massive rain. Can you drop it down? You currently have hay bales. It's top left-hand corner. I guess bring this down. Bring that whole thing down. And then go towards Home Street. Okay, get on again. No, go up, I guess. Right there. I don't know if you designed that, you put that in, or is that proposed? Can you shed some light on that?
You refer to the erosion control barrier along
Yes.
the entrance area? Yes, that's, I believe there's hay bales out there. I assume they're still out there. I haven't been to the site recently, but, and that's the location where runoff from the site would discharge into the road. So we were looking to provide that erosion barrier there right at the edge of the pavement.
Okay, were you involved in the installation of those? Any supervision?
Previously?
Yes.
No.
Well, I was out there Thursday night at 5:30, and the water was going underneath the erosion control barriers and into the double basin. and I sent pictures into the office. So I need you to tell us how you're gonna address that. Is that gonna be replaced, or what are you gonna do? Because that did not work at all.
Yes, there are notes on this plan sheet that it's a matter of installing those hay bales initially they should be embedded in, within the gravel to ensure that they don't, that water doesn't bypass them. You were describing the water is flowing underneath the hay bales. I'm not sure
Correct.
what's going on there currently, but they should be properly embedded and staked in place. And then once that catch basin 1 is installed right next to it and piped into the infiltration basin, then those issues should go away.
Okay, so the bales that are out there now are temporary, are going to be replaced?
They need to be replaced periodically, yes.
No, not periodically. I mean, they failed the other day. I don't know what happened overnight. I was out there the next morning. The gravel was fairly clean, so there was no siltation. But overnight, we got the heaviest rain, and at 5:30, we had probably gotten an inch or so, and it was going right underneath the basin. I got photographs if you want to take a look. But we need to be assured that that's going to be rectified, or as part of the conditions. Yeah, there's some of the pictures there. And if you can see, we can send these to you. Go up in that other picture. You can see from that picture that the water came from the north side, hit the hay bale, went right underneath the hay bale. Can you mind going up a little bit? No, down, I guess. And where that orange paint is a marking for the catch basin. It's 5 or 6 feet beyond that. So we can address that in the conditions. You weren't involved in that at all.
No, I wasn't, but, that is the intent of the hay bales, is to allow clean stormwater to flow through the hay bales and trapping the sediment. That is the idea of what should be happening there.
But again, as you mentioned, they should be embedded.
Yes.
And it should have been a wall or a buildup of effluent stormwater before it came through the hay bale. It's designed to come through the hay bale to mitigate silt. It's not designed to go under the hay bale.
It's difficult to say what's happening there, but
Okay, all right, okay.
you were on site, so you must have seen what was happening.
Council? Yep.
Julie
Just-
Berry, I would like to point out that these photos were not provided to us ahead of time. When we were at the hearing last, on the 13th, the chair explained that he wanted the engineer here to describe the changes on the plan for the public. That's why we're here. Had you provided those photos to town council, who I've been in touch with, including this morning, then we would have had someone or had a way of addressing those comments. So we're going to have to go with what Mr. Pavlik has said, and we'll have to condition the permit accordingly. But had you provided these photos and your questions to town council, then we perhaps would have been in a better position tonight to have addressed those more specifically. Not that Mr. Pavlik hasn't, but that's not why he was asked to come tonight, and it's not why you asked him to come tonight. So I would like to point out that we have been sandbagged about a lot of these issues. And it would have been helpful to everyone, particularly this commission, if we'd had this information and those plans and those photos in advance of this hearing so that we could have answered your questions more completely.
Well, I'm very comfortable with the fact that he's answered the questions,
Thank you.
okay? And our position here is to protect Route 36 and the neighbors, okay? That's our goal, all right? This site has been a problem for a number of years. We want to get it addressed. This is the opportunity to get it addressed. So you get the information as we get it. I'm not obligated to provide anybody anything. This information was brought here. We're not in a court of law. I'm going to take that information. We'll base our decision on it, whether you like it or you don't like it. But our function here as volunteers is to make sure that Route 36 is protected and there's no flooding. That's our goal. Now, anybody from the audience got any questions? Go ahead.
Jake Okaval, 301 Home Street. So these photographs were taken from my personal, not supplied to you, but personally, okay? So I know they spoke about clean water coming out. So these are all gas cans throughout the property, strewed throughout the property, sitting on the sides, sitting in the wide open, 55-gallon drums, probably even 100-gallon drums of unknown whatever is inside of them, okay? Here's the documentation as far as the cars, okay? Here's the documentation showing the cars inside the building that Mr. Liddell's son posted on Facebook, okay? He's also saying, so the use of this property is for storage of antiques. But yet, in his Facebook Marketplace post, which is indicated right here, says that you can come look at them at my showroom in Halifax with the pictures of inside the showroom, with the vehicle in the background, inside the building. So those are our concerns. So yes, I did not provide these to the boards because it's my documentation. So my question is, and I know it's not your purview, okay, but I understand that we have a voice in this as abutters to the property that have been dealing with this. Because I'm sure that anybody in this audience, just like Mr. Winowitz had with the marijuana shop that went up there, he had a say in what happened. Understandably?
Yes.
Okay, so when we sit there and we look out, and we pay our property taxes, and like anybody else would have a concern and a bitch and gripe, sorry, excuse my language, about what's going on, what's gonna be going on in this property, okay? That's what our concern is. I'm raising my family in this house. I look out my window, I used to look out to this great green area of big trees, okay? But yet they removed all those trees, which, whatever, that's fine. Their property is their property, they can take all the trees out. But if they had done the soil removal permit as required by the bylaw, because we can all sit here and do calculations and say they took out more than 1,000 yards, way more than 1,000 yards, they would have had to leave a buffer zone, and this would not have been a problem. It would have been rectified, it would have been the end of it. But they didn't. They just chose to go under the radar and do what they wanted to do. And I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna speak the truth and speak what I have to say, because as a townsperson, and as somebody that pays taxes in this town, I want you guys as the board to support what I'm saying.
Okay, but thank you. I'm just going to make a point that the comments that he made are kind of irrelevant to what we're here for. Unfortunately, we have to make a decision based on whether the plan meets our stormwater standards. As a condition, we do want to discuss whether or not this needs to go back to the planning board, but that's after we've taken out all of our evidence and we've got everybody and we're ready to make a decision that this plan conforms to our bylaw. So is there anything else that's relevant? If there isn't, I am going to be looking for a motion to close the hearing at 285 Holmes Street.
Make a motion to close the hearing for 285 Holmes.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's 4-0. We've got a couple of options. We can take this under advisement and we can make a decision next week. Although we're under a remand situation, I believe there is some time, but I think of all the parties involved, I think that we should probably take a vote that the plan either does or does not meet our stormwater standards, and then discuss conditions. So they got an option. We continue it and discuss it, or we vote tonight to approve or not approve and discuss conditions. Anybody got some input?
I'm just very confused what we're doing right now. This is brought about because the Superior Court says, okay, we have these guidelines, they have to change things, they change things, then they come before us. If it goes by what we think the stormwater management will contain, and it goes by the zoning laws and everything else.
It doesn't go by the zoning. The question is whether the plan meets. We denied the application based on the fact that it had some basins that weren't appropriate. The plan didn't have sufficient amount of notes. They've met that obligation. So council has discussed with their council the fact that bring it back to the board. They made the necessary adjustments to the plan. Does the plan in fact meet our guidelines? I'm gonna say that, yes, they do, okay? It might be on a minimum set of standards. It might not be a plan that I would have liked to build, or maybe Rick would have liked to build, but I think it does meet minimum standards, and my opinion is that it should be approved, but that's only my opinion.
Yeah, no,
Any comments, Paul? John?
No, sir.
Okay. Is someone,
I'm sorry, I do. Somebody brought up a good point, and I don't know if it's in our purview or whether it's the planning board or the building, but the storm drains within the building, especially if it is light industrial, where do those storm drains go to? If they go into the stormwater, is that in our purviews?
the storm drains do not go into our stormwater.
Okay.
Storm drains have to be installed.
Interior, I'm talking about interior drains inside the building.
Interior storm drains have to go into what we call a tight tank situation. It's got to go into a grease interceptor,
Okay.
and then it has to go into a separate tank. They call them grease interceptors, they call them grit chambers, but it has to go in, and there's a special design for that. I honestly don't know if this building qualifies for storm drains. It's kind of a question, if it's over 5,000 square feet and it's storing motor vehicles, then the fire department requires it. I don't know the size of the building, I don't know the use, and I haven't been into that, but it appears that they might need storm drains, but that's not up to you.
All right.
Having said that, does anybody want to make a motion to approve this plan? With conditions?
I put a motion that we approve the plan with orders of condition.
And I'll take a second for discussion. Anybody want to second that? So I have a motion on the floor. And I don't have a second. What I will do is I'm going to second it. No, that I'll second the motion for discussion purposes. Is anybody really not clear on the remand situation? I'll go over that again if you want, and maybe I will. They applied for the permit, we denied the permit. In that decision, we outlined the deficiencies in the plan. They opted to go to court and sewers, and then they must have realized that what we wanted wasn't unreasonable. So they did make all the changes in the plans, they adjusted the notes, they put in some items that I probably wouldn't agree with, but I can tell you that the plan meets the standards that we have in town, by law. It does meet it. So either we agree to approve the plan, or some judge is going to agree to approve the plan. And I personally don't want to take that route. I'd rather bite the bullet and add some conditions, I think, to protect the town. Because if it goes to court, we don't have anything. We don't have that ability to
Order of
condition.
conditions.
So, having said that, is everybody ready to vote?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take a roll call vote. I don't have to, but we're on Zoom. We have a motion and a second. Paul?
No, I don't, I'm not comfortable with it.
You're not comfortable. Okay. Ed?
Yes.
Ed's a yes. John?
No.
Oh boy. I am going to vote yes, unfortunately, because I think it does. The problem is a 2-2 vote does not carry. So, Council, I'll ask you if you want me to continue this. Do we get another member in to review it, or do you want to take that?
I'd like for you to ask your members who voted no what concerns they have so they can be addressed by Mr. Pavlik. The issue is whether the plan complies with the board's, this commission's regulations. So if there's something that they think doesn't comply with the regulations, Mr. Pavlik took time, and this is costing money for Mr. Pavlik to be here to answer those questions, and they didn't have
Miss-
questions.
Mr. Pavlik, if any of my board members that weren't comfortable, do you have a problem with addressing why they're not comfortable?
I'm also curious what types of conditions you might be looking to add, Mr. Chairman, if that makes sense to, you guys are gonna have to vote on an approval with conditions, so I haven't heard what those conditions might be, but, I would think that might, again, I'm not sure what the concerns are, so I guess it's a two-pronged point I'm making, to hear their issues, and then also to see what the conditions might be, and maybe that satisfies their concerns.
Okay, I'm going to take your advice, and what I'm going to do, these are conditions that I thought of, and obviously everybody has to agree, and there might be some conditions that they don't like, and there might be some conditions that they want to add. One of the conditions would be an updated stormwater report. That report, nobody really looks at. Caitlin and I have spent a lot of time, that's going to be standard. The second issue is going to be that the review consultant, okay, is going to have to review that report to make sure that everything is up to standards, okay? Third, that the applicant is going to have to apply and receive a construction general permit, which is a WM15 from DEP. That's a condition that you should have met and you didn't. Fourth condition, this particular site, I believe, should have a surety bond of some type. Number 5 would be that this should be sent back to the planning board to be reviewed. 6 is going to be that the applicant is going to be required to obtain a gravel removal permit to comply with Chapter 144-1, Section 142-2-D6, which they're going to have to comply with that. They're removing in excess of 1,000 yards. I think the number is more like 10 or 11,000 yards in the detention basins. I think 7, that the review consultant be on site for all inspections. Okay, and as-built be provided for all the stormwater grading prior to occupancy. And on that as-built, they're going to be certified. That would be a certified as-built. Those are the things that I thought from a construction standpoint. There might be some other things that you guys might have. One of the things in our bylaw requires us to get a bond. We know that every time it's flooded, the only thing they've really done in 4 or 5 years is put up some hay bales. Okay, so with the bond, if in fact there is some problems, then we at least have somewhere or some surety to protect us. But again, you guys want to discuss anything else that I might have missed? Caitlin, got any ideas?
I think it would be helpful just for the record when members vote no, specify why.
Okay, I think that's up to the member. Okay, I don't think we're required. They're based on opinions. I am not going to ask if they say why. No is fine with me. No, yes. If they want them, we can. If they don't. So, is there any conditions I might have missed at this point?
I can't say.
Mr. Pavlik, any of these conditions seem unreasonable?
I thought I heard you saying that you feel that the site, this design would require a stormwater pollution prevention plan? Is that right?
said that you need to apply for a general construction permit, WM15, because the sites are in outstanding resource areas.
I'm not sure of that reference, but if we're talking about an EPA, NIPD's,
Now,
no, you're talking about something else. I'm not familiar with that regulation, so.
oh, that's maybe why you missed it. We are looking at looking for a general. It is NPDES, Stormwater General Permit, WM15, and it's for the construction and multi-sector general permits. WM15 applications are only required if the site discharges to or is near outstanding resource waters, as defined in 314 CMR 4.06. We can send that to you. It's probably just a formality.
So I am familiar with that. Yeah, so you're referring to the US EPA NIPD's the requirements. And my understanding of that is that it's only applicable for sites that disturb more than 1 acre of land disturbance. And this site is, with the proposed work, it's closer to 25,000 square feet, so we're not triggering that threshold.
I'm gonna agree to disagree. I know the threshold for the minor stormwater permit, but I think there's other applicable regulations that follow that. So if you want to send us something why it doesn't, then that's fine.
I'll have to look into it further.
Yeah, just look into it, and if it, for some reason it doesn't apply, you can just let us know why it doesn't apply. So, anybody got, I mean, I can ask for a vote if anybody wants to. I just want to point out that sometimes with these meetings that emotions kind of rule, and in this particular case, I think we need to put our emotions beside us. Any confusion, if the plan meets it, then we need to approve it.
Yeah,
Whether we like
unfortunately,
it or
we
whether
have to look at the plan. We
Yeah.
can't, everything else, yeah.
Everything else has to go away. I think the plan meets it. It's not the best plan I've ever seen. You like it or doesn't like it. But it meets the minimum standards. So having said that, do I need to call for another vote, or is everybody settled with their thing? Or if you got any questions that we can, Paul, any questions?
Yeah, didn't he make a statement that those bills are supposed to be in the ground?
Right. Did I make a note?
I was on site and those bills are not in the ground.
Correct. And that could be a condition. Well, actually, and I should have added that the erosion control barriers need to be replaced. Erosion control, replaced and installed correctly. You still with us? Replaced and installed correctly. Or they can utilize some other sort of erosion control mitigation methods versus the, you can use a sock or you can use whatever. Does that seem to be a problem?
That's reasonable.
The other thing, and I forgot to mention, and I did see it somewhere in the notes, is that you have in your notes to prevent any sand or any mitigation onto Route 36, okay? Typically, that's a stone entrance, or stone exit or entrance. I didn't see that on the plan. I just see a reference that you're gonna do something to mitigate that. Is that a problem, putting a stone entrance pad during construction to make sure we don't get anything on the street?
I thought about that, Mr. Chairman, and in this case, the site has already been graded, the site clearing is done, it's gravelled, and as you can see in the picture there, even the runoff coming off the site is clear. So I didn't think that it would make sense to do more earth disturbance by installing that stone tracking pad.
It's up to you.
It's,
Okay.
sorry?
No, that's fine. Okay, I agree. I mean, the site didn't have any silt content, so it didn't get into that, but it just had the runoff.
You know,
Okay.
installing that tracking pad would create more disturbance.
Not if you just put it on top of whatever's there and just remove it. I wouldn't want you to dig anything in, just to create some sort of, if you stop and think about it, that tracking pad might prevent any runoff when we get our next rain event. Because I think, I don't know if they're gonna agree with me or not, you know that all your stormwater standards are outdated.
I'm sorry, but what is updated?
All these stormwater standards are totally outdated. We're getting more rainfall events in the last 10 years than we've ever got. So, do we agree that they're outdated?
I would agree
Well,
that-
I'm not saying you're not in compliance.
Considering making changes, but the regulations in effect are what it is at this point.
They're right. So we have to go by those regulations, although they're outdated. So,
Right.
so maybe a stone pad. That's up to you guys. I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to look for a motion to approve the plan at 285 Home Street. Do I have a motion? Let's try it again.
No, I think one of these people should, they want to change their vote to make the motion. If they're not-
Well, I mean, I won't do it again if you
No,
think
if they-
that
they
we've
voted.
addressed any of their concerns. If Paul, John, you think we've addressed your concerns? They have.
Still
Okay.
not happy with this.
Paul, do you think we've addressed any of your concerns?
Not all of them.
Okay, is there anything else that we should address? And ultimately, I want to see the town have the control with the conditions versus the judge just saying, okay. Because right now, we have a plan that's approvable. And if we agree with it, we have the ability to make sure that their feet are held to the fire. You know, they're not gonna take out 10 or 15,000 more yards of gravel and thumb the nose at the town or clear any more trees. I get that part. So, anything else?
Wasn't there mention about going back to the planning board?
Yes, that would be part of the conditions. And the planning board would have to review, they can review this plan, or they can review anything else they want to, whether it be lighting or whether it be parking. Their parameters are a little different than ours. They can kind of address aesthetics, they can address whether or not the 19 trees that they got out back is sufficient for noise, vibration, and harshness. Not something the planning board can do, we can't. So. Anything else y'all concerned with? Okay. You want me to call for another vote, or are you still adamant that you want to turn it down? I hate to put you on the spot.
I know, that's,
Yeah, it's just,
they made their vote, and if they don't
okay. So,
change.
you don't want to change, you don't want to change?
No, sir.
Okay, you don't want to change, okay. We have a 2-2 vote, we have a tie. Best that I can do, Counselor, is you can accept that, or if you want to continue the hearing, if the third member or who wouldn't come here tonight, I gotta check with council. I'm not sure that we can continue it, but I would entertain at this point a motion to continue if you want to play the odds against the other member. It's your call.
Thank you for the choice. I think it's a Hobson's one. When was this member determined that they weren't going to be here tonight? Because there
That's
wasn't any
irrelevant.
discussion.
The question is this, whether you want us to consider continuing it, or do you want to just take the decision?
I'm not going to just take the decision. We'll continue it for now, and I'm going to talk to town council tomorrow and ask town council what she thinks about
Well,
this.
that's okay. All right. Does anybody have a problem? I'm not sure it's 100% legal, I'll find out. If we rescind this vote to get our fifth member. Does any of these members have a problem with it?
No.
Okay. Then we've closed the hearing. I am going to ask for a motion to continue this to our next meeting when we have a full board.
Motion to continue for this meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second to continue this until our next meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Okay, we'll have to reach out to council. I think I'm okay with what you did, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll have to look up the logistics. I haven't.
Yeah, okay,
This, so
okay.
I'll check.
Okay, is there anything else? I'm sorry about this, but anything else from the audience? Okay, we are gonna continue it. We've taken all the information. Any of this information, we will incorporate as part of the record.
I'd like to have copies of
Okay.
everything that was provided
Okay.
tonight, please, if I may.
Yeah.
I request copies of everything that was given to you tonight.
Hold on, just, this is gonna be a public records request, which she can make verbally. So why don't we put together, just, I think there's only, oh, I'm sorry, let me.
Just, Mr. Chair, those are my only copies, so
Oh,
I have those
okay.
back, please. Thank you.
Ooh,
Appreciate
okay.
that.
How do I know that's what you looked at? Can I take a photo of those?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll do it.
Is that one, two? Is this another one here that,
These, where is this one?
I think those are his.
yeah, and you make copies, I mean, we reviewed these, I don't know.
I can scan them and send them to the conservation. if you-
Great, we have these, to me, they have no relevance as far as the decision we made, because, you know, your engineer has indicated that they're beyond the 200 feet, but if you want copies of these, then that's up to,
If you've already said it's not relevant, I'm not.
it's not relevant, and that, you can get copies of that, that's not relevant. We didn't make our decision based on the distance from the resource area.
That's fine, then I'll
Okay.
accept your explanation.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Should we take a quick 5-minute break? Okay.
Are you done with Mr. Pavlik?
Mr. Pavlik, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good.
Thank you, board.
Thanks, Jim.
We're going to take a quick 5-minute break.
Sure you want to-
Next order of business is 21 White Island Road. We need to sign the determination of applicability. You want to bring 23 out too with you?
Yep, I have both.
Okay.
I'll give you 21 first.
We'll get 21. What we have here is a determination of applicability.
These are recorded.
I believe we already voted this, so all we need to do is sign.
Yeah, I know.
Next order of business is 23 White Island Road. We're going to sign a determination of applicability.
We got one more.
All right, next order of business is, it says railroad crossing vegetation, but I
Sharon, that
believe
was added by admin in error.
Okay, so just,
this was added in error?
Yep.
Oh,
That
okay.
was already issued.
Oh,
signed and
okay,
issued.
I'll give this to you. Okay. The only thing I would have done, it was MBTA Keolis or something. Okay, next order of business is 347 Elm Street. Sign off on that. I know that we discussed this. The as-built is in. There's a letter in here indicating substantial compliance. There's a plan. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, the engineer submitted their letter and plan.
Okay. I think I saw a letter last week
Yes.
that he did. Yep. Did we vote this?
Yep, you're just signing.
Oops. Next order of business, I added this to the agenda. It was 383 Montponsa Street. It's a dock replacement, and somehow the request come in. I believe the police chief told the applicant to check with conservation. If you're not aware, docks are controlled by the harbor master. Our harbor master is the police chief. So when I did my little research, it said that anything under 800 square feet,
600.
anything under 600 square feet, those docks can be changed or permitted by the harbor master.
Yeah.
And based on the email that we got this morning, the materials that he's using are sufficient, and there's nothing that I saw, unless you saw something different, in our regulations that require approval.
I think we're all
Okay.
set.
Yep.
Just so you know, Chapter 91 is what covers a lot of this stuff, and there's nothing there. Okay. Hey, do you want to go afterwards, this other stuff, or you want to go now?
We do have Zero Monpont.
Oh.
Was that on your agenda?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Requires board
Yeah, I
signatures.
split the page.
Yeah.
0 Montponsa Street is to sign the stormwater management permit. We had voted that, but I believe,
It's a dock.
Just in case they wanted to see the dock.
Oh, you wanna see the
I did
dock?
send it to everyone.
Oh, okay.
Just in case they wanted to.
Yeah. This is the dock thing. Replacing the dock if you want to see what the information.
Was this on the what? On the dock?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
there's some pictures in there showing the existing dock
yeah.
Was it?
and what they're replacing.
Oh, yeah.
Just so
okay.
you know, in the past,
Yeah.
they've always had issues with pressure treated. That was years ago.
Right.
Because it contained arsenic. The pressure treated does not contain arsenic anymore.
Yeah, he's not putting it.
Right, and then it goes on the size. Anything over 600 square feet, like she said, does require a permit and approval. And sometimes, I don't know what the threshold is, it requires a study for the claims. I guess depending on how the dock is.
Yeah.
If it goes in the ground, they have to do a clam study. Okay. 0 Montponsa Street is another stormwater management permit that we had to add some language to regarding the review engineer. And that permit's ready to go. Yes.
Yeah, might as well start first, John.
Yeah,
Like, every
start
time we keep
first.
going back.
I'm confused on the fast over.
No, where I abstained from this, I don't sign this, correct?
Oh, yeah, that's fine, you abstain.
Good memory. The hunting
Good
area.
memory, I would've signed it. Okay, next order of business is, John, do you wanna get up or you wanna wait to the end?
Wait till the end.
Okay. 314 Plymouth Street. I'm gonna ask Caitlin to kind of address this. we've been talking, but it has been the office has been very busy, so we haven't been able to send letters out. But I just want to point out that I got a report when we had the heavy rain that the water sheathed from this site onto Plymouth Street. I went by this same time I went by 285 Holmes and 266 Montponset, and I could see the water ponding. So if we got more rain, which we did, it was coming out to the street. But having said that, Caitlin and I have had just a couple of small discussions on how to proceed with this. So I think where we're at is sending them a letter.
So I have reached out to Casco. I've yet to receive a response yet. Just to get clarification on exactly what they received with their approval, because that was kind of the confusion, where Halifax has their stormwater management permit. I don't think they were issued that, so we wanted clarification on what they were working under. So I'm hoping they can send me something. If they don't have anything, that's when we would ask them to come back and sort of, so we can sign off on the certificate of compliance eventually. So they're working under something, so inspections can be conducted.
If you don't mind, I think if you could send them out an email to whoever you sent it to, that this last rain event, water sheathed from that site onto Route 106, and we need to have them in attendance at our next meeting. That's typically how we handle it on a notice of intent. So if there's a conflict, let us know, but I think if we send that out, we are gonna have a problem there sooner or later. So let's try to mitigate it.
Yep, so I'll email them about that and see if they can.
Anybody got any problems with that?
No.
Okay, 340 Plymouth Street. We were almost there. You had some water coming. Did it miss? We don't know if it missed the basins or what happened, right?
The three driveways, our three driveways have been affected this time
Okay.
with water. The house that was there that was torn down,
Mm-hmm.
that water is coming down the driveway. Everything is standing water. The sheds, my garden even got flooded this time with water, and it never has before.
Is it because, is the water cascading over the driveway entrance and in?
At my house?
Yes.
It's more or less coming from
The
the,
neighbor.
The street. We know it's coming from the street. Can you send out, Highway's on vacation, can you send out an email to Highway that Mrs. Alger's, all three driveways got flooded, and that the commission would like to know when the driveway aprons are gonna be done? Because it's been a long time. We'll put the bug in his ear. He's gone away. Okay.
the driveway where the old house was, all those trees are sitting in water. All my sheds are in water. And the garden, we've never had it with standing water in it.
Okay.
But this time we did.
Yeah, I don't know, and I've been out part of that, where
Right.
if part of the problem was where the 4 inches of rain that we got, okay, is it sitting out in that back field and got no place to go, because
Coming down both driveways, our
Okay.
driveway and the other house that was there.
from a mathematical standpoint, we'd have to determine how much came down. So if you had 6 inches of water that came down, that would exasperate the problem. But I'm wondering if, because you're not draining out back, so you got water that came down, and I know he needs to address the driveway issue. He said that to me. But is part of that because you had so much water that coming out that it didn't go out where it's supposed to? We don't know. But all we can do is get the driveway addressed. She'll send him out an email.
That's all I want.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
the driveway's taken care of. The driveway next to the bank is the same way. everything is soaking wet.
Right.
You can see it coming off the road
Okay.
and down. I
Okay.
mean, you
Yeah.
can see it.
Yes, sir?
Chris Oates, 129 Circuit Street. Not generally their property, but I've also noticed that whole area of the street, the property that's to be built next to Dunkin' Donuts, because it's all the same section of street, all the chemicals, like the road water, and it's multiple times every time we get a lot of rain. It looks like where the former driveway was, because I think there was a house in that property, the whole street runs off through that cleared lot and right out to the wetlands out back.
I think you're talking about the lot next to Dunkin' Donuts if you're going west.
Yeah, if you're in Dunkin' Donuts, right to the right where they got that temporary fencing all around it.
Right.
But it's like the same section of street. And that's
It is, and I kind of wish it all was going that way because it wouldn't go her way.
Yeah.
I can tell you,
But that's like no barriers out there too, because all the water, you can see like a river coming from the street
there is a stream back there.
across the property.
And there's a wetlands that's behind Dunkin' Donuts, so the storm drains don't connect there. The storm drains go down to in front of the country club entrance, and then they make a turn, and they go all the way down to Rockland Trust, and they dump out into that wetlands area that's across from the fire station. So that's where all the storm water goes. So what you're probably seeing is surface water, and she's getting the surface water because it's either not going in the basin fast enough, or there's so much water, her driveway aprons weren't high enough.
Yeah.
Because we spent a lot of time to try to get the crown of the road correct, to direct all the water to the basin in front of Dunkin's. And there's a basin in between, I think, the bank and her farm stand. Steve went out there, he went out there with the engineer. I mean, they raised up all the curbing across from the entrance because that was a pond or a puddle, and I think that's finally found its way to that one basin. We just had so much water.
Yeah. No, I just thought I'd point it out because I know they've been having tons of problems with theirs. And it's just like a little more extension down the street. There's more problem with water going off.
And I'm just wondering if her water, some comes in and then it's got no place to go, because the natural way is all them ditches all back that they dug. That's the natural way your garden gets drained. Am I correct?
We've never had sitting water before.
Okay. The only problem is, and like the engineer alluded to, we have not had rains like this ever. And all these stormwater calculations they're doing now, quite honestly, they're useless. Because when's the last time you saw a 4-inch rain? And so how many, we did some calculations. 25-year rain event, correct me if I'm wrong, is like 6 inches of water in 24 hours? I get it mixed up. Well, 25-year events are supposed to happen every 25 years, okay? We've probably had a dozen of them in the last 10 years. So we need to figure out what we're gonna do with the water. So there's water standing in places that didn't stand there 10 years ago. And it's not because, well, the drainage systems were designed for that, but we just have to deal with the amount of water that's coming out. And the stormwater standards that they've got in place don't address it.
Well, we've lost one big tree. It's been there for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 2 more that are gonna go. And we've lost one large cedar tree, a rhododendron tree, because they're all sitting in water. And it's like that even in a little rainstorm. And it's coming from the road. It's coming down that driveway. You can look right from my garden that was flooded. You can look right up and it's right in line with the driveway.
Okay. I'm gonna go out there in the next couple of days, if you don't mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Good, we gotta let it go on the stage.
I
Yes?
think I pointed that out too, because if they do eventually start building next to Dunkin' Donuts, and if they put like a lip when they do their driveway or whatever, it might even send more water away, because it won't go out.
There's catch basins on that side that go down, and they just had cameras in all those basins, and I was out there when they were there. So the lines are clear. You just got to get the water in the basins, and you know, for the last 50 years, we got 24-inch covers.
Yeah.
Now we're having 3 times as much rain to go into this 24-inch opening. That's stormwater standards, so, you know, sometimes you go to a parking lot and you'll see a double catch basin. But you'll also see the way the parking lot's graded, so all the effluent goes through there, and now you have, you know, a 24 by 48-inch opening for the water to go in versus a 24 by 24. So we're gonna keep having problems, you know, until all the standards are changed. And that's gonna be a while. So, okay, 22 Beechwood, we're okay. 615 Montponce Street, we hear anything from this guy?
We have not. Last time this was on our agenda, I had said I would reach out to him. I did. He said everything was submitted to Webby, but I haven't received anything from Webby yet. To my knowledge, the site has not been touched since, so
Thank you.
no work has been conducted. But.
Okay, I thought that I saw something where he's filing a special permit. You're gonna have to just send him a letter that we need for our next meeting, we need to get some information.
Okay.
Is everybody okay with that? That's the house that they put out. 76 Pratt Street. Have you heard anything? Because I asked Ed to go.
Actually, yes. So,
Okay. All right.
but I got an email late this afternoon, so I didn't have time to go out. But I touched base with the owner, and I said, you know, what's the status of this? He said he would email me when everything was in place. He said everything went in place 5 weeks ago. So I said, okay, I'll shoot out there when I can. On Thursday, I am taking a course, so I won't be in the office. So I am happy to go out there on Tuesday in the morning, take a look.
Okay, I think Ed went by. Do you see any activity?
I didn't see any activity really. I saw little stakes in the ground, like where he's gonna probably go work, or he did. But obviously after the rain, it was the brook was pretty high.
Yeah.
Compared to
Yeah,
before.
because he was supposed to seed, do the conservation mix, and put down the jute matting that you had suggested. Did you see any matting down at all?
I didn't notice it. No.
Okay.
You would have noticed it. Okay. Just go out there.
Okay.
We'll put it on the next agenda. I can tell you that, which river? Is that the Winnipatuxet?
Brook.
What's the name of it?
Taunton.
That's, no, it drains
Behind
into
it,
the Taunton.
then it goes-
What's the name of that river that goes on the, it's some name. It goes on the Route 105.
Yeah.
That's probably the highest that I've seen it in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, I've seen it where it was inches below the road.
Yeah, like 5-10 years, like
Yeah, yeah.
7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Before George built the house.
And then in the 80s too, I used to travel that road for
Yeah, Beverly
5
used to-
years, and but it's gone right up. So it probably rose 2 feet into his yard. So just look at it and let us know.
Yep.
111 River Street, did we ever get site visits here?
I'm in contact with Ecosystems. I asked them next time they're going out. And when they get back to me, I'll let members know. Anybody who wants to come out with me.
Who wants to go? As long as
I'd
you
like
get
to go
two.
back out there. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
All right, so I'll let you two know when Brandon gets back to me, and we'll plan a day.
It's either that, or just say, look, we're going out next Tuesday. If you want to be there, fine. I mean, we do have the right to go there. I can't imagine that they're gonna be able to do anything within the next week there.
Yeah, my train of thought with this is try to go out with Ecosystems just because they have the familiarity, just so they,
Okay.
you know, we can
So you
pick
know
their
where you're
brain as
going.
well. If I don't hear back from them, say this week, I can try to schedule a time for us to go out
Okay,
without them.
you can work that out. Because typically you leave them alone once they do the notice of intent. It's just that, you know, they haven't been reporting to us, and they did everything else that they wanted to do.
Yeah, that's
so-
why I figured Ecosystems first. We'll see how it
Okay.
goes, and then yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Okay, Halifax watershed. All right. Well, let me just say that Halifax watershed. John is a part of the Halifax watershed, so he brought this to my attention to put on the agenda, and I said yes, only not for us to particularly take a vote tonight, but to explain what he's trying to accomplish. And because he is a member of the watershed, I have to ask him to go to the mic.
My hat's here. Good evening, John Gill, Lake Street, Secretary for the Mont Ponce Watershed Association. So we started discussing various testing for the Mont Ponce ponds, and one thing that came up was we were curious if the ponds had ever been tested for PFAS. And all my calls to both Cody and DEP, DPH, nobody had any record that Mont Ponce ponds had ever been tested for PFAS. A couple of years ago, the state did about 52 random ponds, water bodies around the state. 99% of them tested positive for PFAS. Robbins Pond downstream from the Mont Ponces tested positive to the point, I believe it was like between 5 and 10, what they call parts per trillion, which is not real high, but high enough for them to post a warning that the fish, you can't eat the fish there if you're under 12, pregnant, expect to have a baby nursing, and anybody else can have 2 meals a month. But that's a lot of PFAS in there. So it took a lot of digging, but eventually we found out that, well, Mont Ponces have not been tested. Silver Lake has been tested. And Silver Lake tests positive, but below the EPA threshold. So we're curious. We have water going in 2 directions. We have out Stump Brook to Robbins Pond, which is highly contaminated, and then going out in the other direction out to Silver Lake, which is slightly contaminated. Where's the contamination coming from? So we did identify one study that says that 9 out of 10 cranberry bogs that have been tested test positive for very high levels of PFAS. Not sure where they're coming from. In speaking to John Hobel from Lakeville DEP, he says that if you don't have a specific contamination, like they do down the Cape with the military base, then it's usually from septic systems. But other people have noted that the sprayers that they use for the cranberry bogs, oftentimes for herbicides and pesticides and fertilizers, often leach PFAS from their containers when they're sprayed. So we're kind of curious as to how high the PFAS level is. We have high levels on one side, not so high levels on the other side, and where are they coming from? So we have requested DEP to test Mont Ponce ponds. It's kind of an extensive process. They do water testing, but usually they catch about 50, 60 fish and then test the flesh of the fish to see if they're contaminated with PFAS. The process, from what I understand, is going to take a year to 2, only because DEP is now inundated. Once those first reports came out, they are now inundated with requests for testing. So our idea is that if we can get some help from both the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission to just send an email to, his name is Dan Davis, who does the testing for DEP out in Worcester, to support our request for PFAS testing for the Mont Ponce ponds.
And I allowed this on the agenda for one reason, because you wanted to share that information. From what I've gathered, we don't know, or there's really no known cause of PFAS. Well, I shouldn't say cause. They don't know how it gets in the water. They know that it's from the chemicals that are put in bottles and cans, and we have, I don't know if they put it in tires, but all the tires and rubber, the rubber that goes off the road goes into all of our ecosystems. But one question that did come up, because I've talked to Hanson and I've talked to the Board of Health, is what is the catch-all if there is a high PFAS, all right? Who's going to be responsible for testing? So this is information that I think that we would need before we vote. Who's going to be responsible for testing? What are the potential ramifications? If we're going to test east, you on east or west?
East.
On Westlake, part of that's Hanson, so it'd have to be a joint effort between the towns. So I think what the Watershed Association ought to do is, go back to the drawing board and say, hey, look it. We know that Brockton tests their water. We know that Halifax tests their waters. You get a copy of the reports. They're available.
For Halifax testing for PFAS?
Yeah, they all test for PFAS.
Do they?
Yeah, they test for PFAS.
I'd like to see that, only because
Just
I asked Cody, Cody said not to his knowledge. So, but I'd like to see that level.
Is that for surface water?
Yeah, especially the Brockton,
groundwater?
because they take the water.
Right, and that's why Silver Lake is tested, because Brockton uses that as their water source. So they won't test us, but they'll test that because that's the basic
Main.
source.
Well, all your towns are testing for PFAS now. Okay, so if
Yeah.
you do, I mean, if you need information from the water department, I would call the water superintendent.
Okay.
Get the information from him. I'm sorry. Is it surface water?
I asked if it was surface water or groundwater that they were testing.
They test groundwater
Yeah.
because Halifax is getting all of their water from the ground. All right, so Richmond Park, we know, are wells. So the Y camp, you could probably make a reasonable argument that eventually the lake water gets down into that, but that is a sand well, and supposedly it's in a different aquifer. But it's just highlighting, what's unusual is Montponset has a very high iron content, so doesn't that water down there. So I think what his commission ought to do is to look at what the ramifications are. Who's gonna pay for that, if it's gonna be, anybody's gonna pay.
Sure.
And then what is gonna be the ramifications? And I think based on that, then we could decide whether to join with them. But I think Hanson should be involved in this particular
Sure.
thing.
I've talked to Hanson DP, Board of Health.
Yeah.
Gil said he'd get back to me. He hasn't yet.
Yeah.
As far as there is no cost, I checked with DEP, there is no cost for the testing. And since it would be the watershed asking for it, had there been any cost, it would be absorbed by us and we would make a determination based on that cost. It would not go to the town.
I did talk to Gil, and I know that his concerns are the ramifications.
Yeah.
So I think maybe get that addressed, get those questions answered, and then come back and finish off the presentation, and then the board can decide.
My philosophy is you just test it and see what it is. I don't know. See what,
Well,
I know there's
okay.
ramifications.
One of my concerns is, especially, like Robbins Pond is,
The more tests we
the
do.
recreational fishing out there is enormous. I mean, so many people who fish out there. Generally, people around here, when they recreationally fish,
They throw
you
it.
mount it on the wall, you throw it away.
Yeah.
One or the other. But we have a lot of folks from different cultures who are out there fishing all the time. And those people eat the fish. And they have a right to know whether or not their fish is contaminated as well. As far as swimming, absorbing, you can't, just casual swimming, you won't absorb that much PFAS from it. It's minuscule. But eating fish, yeah.
Yeah, so what happens is the parameters too are very, very high. It's gotta be 4 parts per trillion or whatever it's very, very high.
And Silver Lake is testing, at one point they actually tested over 4, that was back in 2020. Since then, they've been testing in the 2s, like 2.5,
Okay.
2.5
So-
parts per trillion.
In our particular scenario, if the watershed did get that, and let's say we had a high concentration, okay, who's responsible for the notifications, the signage and all that stuff? I'm just giving you
Sure.
I'm just giving you the feedback
Right.
that I've got from other department
Right, and
heads.
that would be DEP, as they did in
Okay.
East Bridgewater, put the signs up saying, can't eat the fish here.
You know, the thing is with Robbins, we contribute to Robbins.
Right.
But I don't know, I don't believe it's septic systems around the West Lake. Because I can tell you that most of the systems that are within, the Board of Health has been, if it's within 50 feet, they're not getting anything.
Sure.
If it's between 50 and 100, it's treatments.
Mhm.
And then I can get on Ocean Avenue and say, this has got treatment, that's got treatment, that's got treatment, that's got treatment. And part of the treatment process too is, let me see, they do pond, well, actually, the treatment process, they test the tanks themselves. And it's usually for nitrogen and ammonia. But the pound did have, and I don't know that they had got any more. They had a series of septic systems that were around the pond that were Title V compliant, but they were too close. So they entered into agreements, you can check with the Board of Health, where they had to have their systems tested annually and a water sample taken by the lake. And I know that Peggy has been pretty good about staying on top of that. And based on what I remember, I don't remember that they've ever had testing where the septic system affected. But I know down on Ocean Avenue, there's a lot of alternative systems. So my suggestion would be was try and get those questions answered, try to get a joint effort between Hanson, let's try to figure out what Hanson's gonna do, who's gonna be responsible for signage, I did read a little bit. They're not sure how it's really getting there.
Right.
But I can tell you though, you can sign up for it. I get an email, probably 3 or 4 a day, from Justin on South Shore News. In Duxbury, has got a PFAS problem. And their water rate's doubled.
Understood.
So if you're paying, $300, all of a sudden your water bill went up. I don't know how they're gonna, I don't even know if there's a method to get PFAS out yet.
There is, EPA is working on, it's a program called PFAS Outreach, where they're trying to both address sources and filtration for, like water departments and how they're gonna get it out of their water.
Yeah, and they haven't been able. There's no process right now.
No,
There's nothing solidified.
No, it's like, it's, in the septic world, we deal with nitrogen and nitrates. And that's what we test. If you've got an alternative system, they check for nitrogen and nitrates. And 10 parts per million is the maximum that's allowable in drinking water. And even though you got a high nitrate level, there's no way to remove it.
Right.
They don't have a process.
Yep.
The only process is dilution.
All right, let's move on.
Oh yeah, let's move on, okay. All right, so I think.
Sorry, Jonathan.
Yeah,
That's right,
yeah.
we'll make one comment though.
Yeah.
That while Richmond wells were down, we were buying water from Rockton. So we were drinking the water from our own ponds for quite a while. As of February 22nd and 24th, Richmond, they stopped using Brockton water. So we were drinking the water from the leaks.
You were. I got my own well, so, okay. All right, bills to be, did you hit, Chris, did you hit? Because we're ready to go home.
So just while you were talking, I looked up the 2024 Halifax water report.
Yeah,
And we were slightly over on SMCL, secondary drinking water standards.
okay, okay, that could be a test, but what was you over? Were you over in nitrate, were you over in nitrogen?
No, and PFAS.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know the parameters. I got some of the information from him and then I looked it up, so but we even had high nitrates coming out of the Richmond well, which we think was contributed from the park. But those were high 1 month and then down below acceptable limits the next, so you don't really know. Okay, bills to be paid. Need a motion to pay all the bills.
I put a motion that we pay the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Okay, let's get them out there.
Meeting minutes.
All right, here are those.
So it's interesting, you sign below or above.
Yeah, man. Where is this sign? Next item on our agenda is going to be on May 13, 2025 meeting minutes.
Put a motion that we approve the minutes for May 13th, 2025.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I did review them, there was a couple of some small, just stupid errors.
Yeah, and you guys can sign, and any minor things Peggy's happy to change.
Right.
If you just,
I read them, I think I sent her something, there was just some word. And keep in mind in the research, my research, that you don't even have to be here to sign meeting minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
didn't even have to be here. Interesting.
And you don't really need a majority, as long as you got one signature on it, sufficient.
Well, that's good, because we used to chase people for
Yeah,
years.
you don't need to. Yep, you don't, because all it is a depiction of what happened.
Okay, next one.
Next item on our agenda is April 22, 25 executive meeting minutes. I need a motion that we approve those minutes, but they are not to be released until the pending litigation is over.
Yep. I say we approve the minutes for April 22nd, 2025 for the executive session meeting. minutes,
They are to be held.
and they are to be held and to further notice.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye. It was the best motion of the night?
So, we have one more Commons. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn at 9:12. Are we okay with 9:12? Oops, 9:11?
We're at 9:11.
9:11. For a motion to adjourn at 9:11?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Third.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. I know it was a tough night.
Yeah.
Oh,